Hey guys, what's up YouTube? It's Rob. Doing some Saturday morning 8-rack live streaming. Hello in the future, replay watchers. Hopefully the future is treating you well. Uh, Thanks again for all your comments. I do read all the comments, like I said. Sometimes I talk about the comments in the videos, and I want to talk about one comment that Harrison Wade commented on, and he was saying, "Do we need?" Hold on, let me bring up the deck. And it really kind of just boils down to the question of whether or not to splash. And it's a good question. But the question is, I've been sort of touting Myth Realized lately as a. Hang on one second. Okay, back. Sorry. Yes. So anyway, back to the stream. Bringing up this here. Question is, okay. Yes. My thoughts on Myth Realized. Let me make sure I've got my. Okay, good. Mic is still going. Okay, good. Yeah. So what you're really asking though, when you ask your question is, does 8-rack need a card that puts a body on the ground? Like, do we have need for such a thing? And I think the question is, it's debatable, but I think in general, yes, is my answer. I like to not be so very linear. Some people, um, like your Tom Rosses out there, are against this type of idea, and they go as linear as possible. And that's fine, and that has its place. It's just so some of it has to do with personality type. Like, do you prefer to go extremely linear? And you have to say, okay, I am going to lose some matches where when my plan A fails, I'm going to feel kind of, incompetent a little bit. You don't need a scalable mainland if you already have them. You mean via rats and Mutavault package, which is totally solid? Is that the question? Like, because that's a good question. Like, do we have this? Okay, if we've all right. So I guess the question is really, do we have this in black? And this is what sort of what I've been running for just your default um, black only. But what manlands do we have? You have to ask that, Harrison. What manlands? Because the black and white manland is awful. There is no manland that we can run in 8-rack other than Mutavault and maybe Blink Moth Nexus in a. I don't know. I still recommend Mutavault, especially with Mutavault's interactions with Pack Rat. Um, but no, they're not enough. No, Myth. If you're comparing Myth to Manlands, Myth is definitely above Manlands. It functions like Manland. I'm not going to say it doesn't function like Manland, but it's a better Manland than we have any access to. A 4 health swing. So yeah. So well, see, we got multiple. You got multiple questions now. The question. If the question is, should we be splashing at all? That's debatable. If the question is, do we need? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Like, if the question is Myth the reason to splash white? Again, debatable. But I think, I think if you're probably going to compare it, I think Myth's best comparison is to Pack Rat, because What it's doing is giving us a separate line of attack. Now, it's definitely not as inevitable as Pack Rat, um, but it's way easier to play. It's a way less investment. You have to invest a certain amount of cards and mana and make sure this thing lives a turn. And that may or may not be tricky depending on your situation. You could be in top deck mode. You get your rat, you're like, yes, awesome, and they top deck their removal, and you're like, fuck, it's over. Whereas Myth Realized is protected from that in most cases. Um, Yes, lots of questions equals more content. That's true. But so you really have to divide. So let's just say, I mean, if we're talking about the card Myth Realized, let's just skip right to the fact that we've already committed to the fact that we want to we're okay with splashing because we accept the loss of life, we accept the weakness to Blood Moon, and we're okay with that. Our meta at our local game store says I'm cool with that. If that is the case, then do we want then? It's not. Good question. That is a very good question, Patrick, and welcome to the stream. Um, but right, so do we want? Is this the reason that we're running white? And to me, it is, and it's not just because it's a fun card. Because I find it a fun card to play. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you that has some bias in my evaluation of it. But it's not blinding me to the fact that the card fits. Um, I've said it many times before. It's the identical investment of Shrieking Affliction. You can consider it racks 9 through 12, effectively making it 12 rack. It works very similarly if you think about it in concept. Like, you play this, but it does really nothing on its own. It needs all of your other cards to be played so that this thing turns on in most cases. It's the same idea with this, and it gives you a different angle of attack. Okay, it just diversifies your win conditions to be beyond just the you need something, or I think that you need something beyond this and this, because if you there's first of all, it's only 8 cards out of 60 for starters. That's good, but is it enough? Like, okay, you get one, but is a one turn clock or a one rack clock fast enough? Maybe not. You know what I'm saying? Now you got 12 of them, and I think you've seen that in the replays. So I think that if you agree that splashing is okay but okay, so Harrison, let me ask you this: what manland would you compare? What would give me a manland to compare Myth Realized to? Because we don't have, as far as I know, we don't have access to scalable manlands other than this card. And especially if you think about the casting cost, it's almost like your land comes into play tapped. It's very similar to a manland here, but we have no access to a scalable manland other than this. I wish we did. I searched far and wide for one, even like wanting to like that whatever 3/4 guy where you exile lands from your graveyard, but no, that's not going to happen here. So you have to, yes, it would be great if I had a scalable manland other than Myth Realized. If you know of one, let me know, because I really don't. Um, for this list in particular, I wanted to show some people. Yes, we definitely need. Yeah, absolutely. These decks are not running fast these days. Been my experience. You don't see a ton of like Zooey, like super fast. The turns are like 4 to 6. You can expect, depending on how speedy. I think decks, and those decks that are going long, they're going long, and they are going way higher than we can go inevitability wise. We don't want to go a long game with a blue deck. Not in this format with Teferi and Jace and all that. You don't want to try to be there. So you need to have legs into those turns 5 and 6. That's when this thing starts swinging. It's like a 4 or 5, token myth that's just finishing off the game. You don't want it to go much past that. Um, and that's what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're not going to always guarantee that that you've got the game finished. If you're counting on just 8 cards, just a numbers wise, you're going to have those games where you've got their hand empty and you're sitting there waiting for a finisher, and you will lose games that you otherwise wouldn't if you had more finishers. Slash, there's a whole another separate class of games that you've lost because you didn't have a different plan of attack. You may have them stabilized, but you may have their hand. They may be keeping their hand out of range of your racks, and in this case, you force the issue with the swings. Especially you get this guy out of bolt range. He's sorcery proof essentially. It's good. I mean, if we had a scalable man land in black, I would be all over that, and I would probably wouldn't be looking much beyond black. But we just need. This is for folks who need extra diversity of attack, and then you have Lingering Souls, which it's just the good stuff's card. You'd be hard pressed to not find a good, like, oh damn, I got Lingering Souls. You feel good about having it in your hand pretty much always because it's good stuff. But just for example of like, what, some of the things you could do, you could easily, you could easily dump the Lingering Souls here and put in like a couple of these. These are good, these cast downs. I don't know if y'all have used those, but these hit just about everything. Like, it misses Tassiger, but I haven't seen a ton of him. I've seen way more Angler in the decks that would run him previously. But yeah, this is a great card, I think, cast down. It's sort of the best Doomblade alike, or whatever you want to call it, Terror alike, if you go way back. So far. You have Victim of Night is in play as well, which is also an alternative to this. I don't think it's in our particular deck. Every single card gives black, so the double black is actually not a negative. So if you want to run Victim here, that's fine. In this particular deck, if you have colorless lands like Mutavault, then I'd probably run Cast Down. I think that, yeah, there's a few little things, some weird ones that Victim of Night misses that annoys. It can't hit Mutavault, for example. It is decent. I have a Mythpox. It is decent. You're right, and I do thank you for reminding me to talk more about. Hell, it's gotten all convoluted now. Yeah, this is it. This is the one with smallpox. It works perfectly fine with smallpox. Why don't I show them? Because I don't know. Smallpox to me is one of those cards where it's like, it's a really big swing card where when it hits, it feels like it won you the game, but there's plenty of times where it either hurts you just as bad or it's dead or something like that. Sometimes it just hits for, like, it ends up being a painful Doomblade or something like that. Or you see what I'm saying? Like, if you're using it sort of mid to late game just to kill off a creature, it may or may not work in your favor. It just has swings. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's painful. Sometimes it's totally dead. Like, you don't have enough lands to support, and 23 lands in a smallpox. Some people might not even run this much, and they think I run way too much lands. But I think in a smallpox, you kind of have to, especially when you're running fetches and stuff like that. But yeah, so it does work, and we can show that, I think. Why don't we, I guess? Let me make sure the sideboard's not crazed. Disenchant, good. Rest in peace. Yeah, I don't want... yeah, that's too much. That's not bad, actually. What? Ouch. put in some, like, where is it? Damn, there's so many of them. Takes 2 white on that one. I can't do 2 white. The forge tenders are pretty good. I kind of like forge tenders against red. They're not bad. Yeah, I can deal with this. Let's try this, just for fun. It's a good point. It's not that it's. Why haven't I shown MythRack, or why haven't I shown more pox? Um, no, that's fine. Legitimate theories should be able to hold up to skepticism. So if I'm wrong about something, I don't want to be confused about that. All right, let's see what we got going on here. I guess we'll test. It's not win more. It could be the only thing that wins you the game. I think you should check out some of those replays. I mean, I've demonstrated that it works on its own. It doesn't need to have other things going on. It can win on its own without, or like in place of a rack. I emptied their hand, and then Myth swings at them. Who cares if I killed them with the rack or I killed them with this? It's racks. It's just racks 9 to 12. It's not win more. It's the same. Okay, what we got here. I don't like that thing. I give him the stupid. He's got this damn thing too. I want him to play the noble. I'll take this for now. This is where it's going to be hard because I need all my cards here. I really need all my cards, but we'll see. I don't think I can smallpox this turn. Depending on what I draw. If I draw a land, I can. Okay. It's a good card. It's a good hit here. It really sets him back quite a bit. Because he's going to not want to discard lands. Yeah, see, it hits him pretty hard. The ziggurat was a rip. Yeah, I'm shredding him pretty hard now. We'll see. See, this is where you're gonna get. He could easily win this game, depending on my draw. He could easily win this game. That does help, though. He's holding the Phantasmal. He'll probably hold both his cards here. Yes, in a way, yes. To this comment here, yes, I agree. He serves. He just like He's just like, just think of him like it's a rack, but it works like a manland. It's like a combination of that. It's just the same vulnerability as Shrieking Affliction. Just use it wisely, and it will work very well in here. I would not like to see one of these guys right now, because he'd end up out racing me. I used to love Mini Jace in Blue Black Rack. I used to love it, but I didn't have much following on that. I don't use flagstones. Oh, interesting. I wonder what he'll choose. Lily? Okay. Not that I could cast it, though. I can't really cast my wrench here, to be honest with you. It's a race now, and I just can't cast it. I have to catch 2 cards on it. I'm not running flagstones because I don't have. Oh wow, that was an interesting move. I'm not running flagstones because none of my lands, all my lands produce black in this. I feel good about this. Then branch is gonna hurt, I think. God, I'd love to get like a smallpox. Oh, that's right, his image. Forgot about the image. Yeah, and I ended up not liking Decay even. I felt like Push felt way better than Decay. So because we're in this mode, this is the play. You gotta just clock him. Pretty good here, I think. He's basically paralyzed. Now I get the smallpox, but definitely want to do this. He has to kill me. Whatever he does, it has to kill me right now, or he's dead. Yeah. The rack was a great rip. Rats would be pretty good against him. They'll scale out of control like crazy. He probably side out all of his. You figure he's siding out all of his removal. He saw nothing in the way of critters from me. Yeah, there wasn't too much draw from green other than if I wanted to put bodies on the ground like Goif and stuff like that. That's a pretty good hand. I can comfortably play Myth on my first turn based on Fatal Push. I don't feel like I'm super worried about Thoughtseize going turn 1. That's my thought process here. Pretty solid hand overall. Okay. I actually like to see this usually in 8-rack. So I think this would be probably a pretty good example of how it may be able to function as a win con, as my only win con so far. Ooh, gotta hate her. Evil, evil bitch, Thalia. I hate that bitch. Actually forgot about her. Well, we'll see. Incoming another Thalia, but he would have done it anyway. Yeah, I mean, I knew it. see. That thing's too big, I think. Yeah, I can't. There's nothing in my deck. His clock's too quick. This one's gone. Probably misplayed by me, to be honest with you. Think about that. Thalia is a threat, but he had two of them. I don't think I could have stopped anything. Basically, nuts draw on me. Loam with green. I've tried it, but it ends up just turning into a straight up loam deck with just Ravens. How they just use Ravens Crime, because you want like you end up wanting this. Hold on. You end up. We don't want this. It ends up turning into loam assault. Something like this. You can see how it came about, just with some 8-rack theme to it. Yeah, I've tried Porphyry Notes. It's complicated. It's a complicated thing to play. Um, it works okay. Um, it has ups and downs. It feels dead sometimes. I end up just wanting like a straight removal instead. Took me a long time to figure out how to say it. Porphyry, and it's a geologic turn somehow. Let's see what he's got going on here. Hmm. Yes, I take the mage. Maybe I should have taken the Sin Collector. What's your thoughts on that? What's your between white and what's your other choice? Is it just mono black or is it a different splash? Red. Are you planning on main decking Blood Moon? Depend. What are you trying to do? Do you want to main deck Blood Moon? Is the question. Didn't want to see that. Oh, why didn't I cast this? Shit. Oh yeah, sure. I will definitely do that. Andrew, thanks for that. I'll definitely open up the window. That's good. Pitch that because I'm getting my Lily back. If he had put something else out, I would have pitched the other one and played the thing. Okay. I think it's a good example of it working nicely with smallpox. Oh, his sin collector. It's coming now to get my Lily. It is what it is. He'll do it my draw. Either way, though, I'm good. I'm fine with either now. Oh, it's only instant or sorcery? I thought he could do any of it. Shite, I didn't know that. Okay, whatever. Let's just play conservative, I guess. I could go all in on the rats. Hey, babe. I think this is safer. Well, I think it's safer. Yeah, it's pointed at me. I feel pretty good about this. So you don't have Blood Moon, getting back to your splash question. So what are you running? What are you trying to run from red? Lavamancer? Pyromancer? What do you want from it? Pyroclasm, something like that, or Anger of the Gods type things. What are you looking for? What? Oh, never mind. Another sin collector. Collect all the sins, but you won't get any from me because I have none. K charm, solid, Rakdos or Radkos charm. Yeah, that's a good one. Terminate, sure. So just kind of like you're expanding your board control is basically what you want to do, and K command gives you. What are you targeting with K command? Do you have any creatures to get out of the graveyard? Just pack rat. It's a solid target for Kolagans. Definitely hurts. Um, okay, I could see it. So you basically upgraded your removal package, um, and then you just squeezed in some. What do you take out for K command? Do you take out the? You're not running the wrench mines or something. What's gives? Like, what'd you have to pull out? I'm playing a little bit defensively here. I could play more aggressively. I could be swinging with the myth. I think you guys can see that. Okay, can you not? Can we agree now, at least to treat the myth not as a win more, but as just a solid alternate rack? It's just racks 9 through 12. It's not win more. It could be by itself right now and winning. You see what I mean? Like it doesn't need the other win conditions. It could be winning by itself right here. I think without these two alternates. So it's a red splash with pack rat. I don't know that I've done that. It's interesting. What else could you get out of it? You should probably run. Honestly, if you're running red, you really should probably try and steal games with Blood Moon, or maybe have that in the side. I actually have it in the side. You should try and get some Blood Moons in the side with red, and make sure your mana base is constructed correctly for that. Dump the wrenches. I could see dumping. I think the card to dump wrench mine for is command, the K command, whatever you want to call it. Um, yeah, it gives you sideboard access. I think Blood Moon is really strong. I don't know if it's quick enough for us to really try and fight Tron effectively, being that it costs 3, and that's our top. So he's coming at me with this thing. Okay. It's 4-4. And he's coming at... I can't tell who he's attacking. Me or Lily. I could jump a Muta here. It's worth jumping a Muta to save Lily. Might could have let that die. Actually, maybe should have let Lily die. I'm not sure. I want a land rib, but we'll see. This dude is not playing super quick. We can say that for sure. But it all comes down to it's getting real close to the end now. It's got a third one? Nope. I like this plan. I think this is the fastest clock. Where is it? Okay. It's going to be close. Didn't feel great. Let me try and remember to open up. Have we even had any? Yeah, I guess so. The wire. If he swings out at Lily, it'll kill her. But Where does that leave him? Yeah, I gotta let that go. That's smart, yeah. No, it's smart. You should. Probably should have gone rat plan to begin with, but you know, hindsight's 2020. So this is not bad. I'm just using rats to stall too. Don't forget, he should be paralyzed here. Okay, getting there, getting there. Just stalling. I think he's in trouble. If he plays a card, he's hurt. If he doesn't, he's hurt. I think it's okay to tank it. I think it's okay. You can't. We'll see. Doesn't matter. Turn off all events. Target all creatures. It's definitely close. If he's got a removal, I'm done. Yeah! Humans. Falls. And yes, this is exactly why you want a multi-tiered plan of attack. One or the other would not have done it. It needed both in this case to defeat humans. Thank you. Cool. That was a nice run. Um, um, but yeah, so that was mono black, by the way. Mono black with legs. You definitely see how Pack Rat adds a good amount of legs to your deck. Give it legs. I mean, it has inevitability. It scales like no other card that we have. Like you could make a case for Bitter Blossom, I guess, can scale like that. It gets out completely out of control, but Bitter Blossom has its own problems and so on and so forth. So it's kind of comparable to that. Um, but it does its own thing. It definitely won the game there. Yes, it's high value. It turned all those dead draws, all those stupid lands. Can you imagine if I was sitting there top decking without Pack Rat, ripping those lands while he just picked at me? I would have been beyond tilted. So yes, it's a very good card. People have been against Pack Rat since the beginning. Um, you can have 8 of them just like Rat. You mean what is it called? That other guy yeah, he gains power only though, I guess. It's not I remember him. I was trying to do that, but I ended up using Nizumi instead of him. I like Nizumi better. You do. Oh, you can zoom me. But yeah, I ended up using Nizumi. Oh, with the man. Oh, I got you. That's true. That's true. The Mutavault synergizes with Pack Rat. It really synergizes with Pack Rat. I love the I really enjoy. I'm not saying it's great, but I really enjoy the synergy of Swarmyard and the rats. Um, it really gives you a nasty inevitability. It's very, very difficult for them to come around, even one of them interacting with Swarmyard. But when you have like Pack Rat um, and Swarmyard active, it helps. It lets you play it safely on turn 3. You know, you got your Swarmyard untapped instead of usually waiting to turn 5 where you have to be able to click it off in case they remove it right away. Anyway, because no matter what, it's always vulnerable to their top deck removal. And this gives you a layer against that, which is really nice. But anyway, all right, so I would say that's pretty good for a Saturday morning stream. I know I wanted to talk about the red splash real quick before I go down. Before the stream goes down, I should say. Let's see what we got here. Where is it? Oh, there it is. MythRack. So you're running, instead of Young Pyro, you're running. You doing like this? Something like this? It's pretty good. This looks kind of solidish. I would play that. Pack Rat works nice with Lavamancer, gives you extra value as you pitch in your cards, stuff like that. Some synergy there, not great, but something. Um, Command gets back either one of those. Either one of them could possibly be like this year's more. He's kind of like your Rax 9 plus as well. Although he's way flimsier than Mithril. Pulls tokens sometimes, not super great, but he can also just go, hit the face, and we have almost no use for our graveyard. So, it's good. Also, he can kind of like dwindle down goyfs by emptying your graveyard and stuff like that. He can like do some interesting combat tricks with that they forget about and things like that. So it's a bit of graveyard control. I wouldn't call it hate. Um, but then, of course, yeah, the terminate. Also, don't forget to consider. This is a good card. Uh, you know what it is. Dreadbore. Um, I would say it's probably interchangeable with terminate. You could probably go like 2-1 split easily. Gives you some. You can hit on those annoying. I don't know. Just gives you some planeswalker access. A Gideon, I guess, something like that. Jace, posing lilies aren't really bad, but whatever. Garrick's, something like that. So if you had him, yeah, gives you some legs on, or gives you some access to planeswalker hate. But yeah, I kind of like my terminates. I got the old school terminates. I still use my old school plain IPA was invasion plain something, whatever the P stands for, and then apocalypse. It was one of the greatest sets. I really wish it was in modern. I wish we had. I think it's right before the cutoff. There were some great cards in there. I really hope they're talking about adding cards to the modern card pool and skipping standard. I really hope they do that because there's a ton of cards that are legacy only that would be perfectly fine in modern and could make it really interesting. So I see them doing it. It's smart for them to do that, and I think it'd be awesome for the game. Yeah, this looks good. Check out, and then look, Blood Moon Inside. This wins games on its own. Oh, sweet. Yeah, I could see that. Just they are cool. That's old school style. Yeah, and of course you got collective brutality. This is a generalist. I call this a generalist sideboard card. Great against a ton of different matches, be it non-creature threats or life loss or what do you call it, like burn type things, affinity things like that. It's 2-for-1s. Um, anyway. All right, that's good enough for a Saturday morning stream. Thank y'all for watching. Please keep those comments coming in. I read them all, and I like to respond to them. And thank you, replay watchers. You guys rock and keep the channel going and motivated and everything. So thanks everybody, especially live chat watchers. You guys seriously rock.